Well, hey there. Welcome to the kitchen. And if you're new here, my name is Angela and I am the Inquisitive Farmwife. You never really know what I'm going to be up to, but today we're going to make some ice cream. Yeah, it's really cold outside and we're making ice cream. If you've been following along, you saw me do a quick review of Dulce flavorings, and we made some really tasty drinks, and I promised you I'd bring you along for some ice cream. That's this video, so stay tuned. Okay, here we are at an angle where I could still have conversation with you, and you can easily see what's going on. We're going to give this view a try. Don't know if we'll stick with it. We'll see what happens. First things first, I have some fresh cow's milk. We're going to pull that cream right off there. A half a gallon will actually get me 2 batches of ice cream. So we're going to make 2 batches today. So to pull off the cream, all I do is I kind of get a flat ladle. And normally I would put this in 1 jar, but I'm just trying to kind of separate it into the 2 jars today because we're making 2 batches. You'll keep pulling the cream off until you see a different color. You'll be able to tell the difference between the heavy cream and the skim. Especially if you let it sit in the fridge for a few days, that cream will kind of thicken up just a little bit. Okay, now that the cream is separated, I left a little bit of the fat in there because we want a whole milk with about 4% fat. And I'm going to take the rest of this, slightly over 1 cup of cream. That leaves me with about 5.5 cups of milk, which I am going to warm. And I want every bit of this. So I got myself a spatula because the cream will stick to your glass jars. Now, milk will scorch really easily, so be super careful about that. We're going to go ahead and double this part so that we don't have to dirty up the dishes, and I can easily separate this out. So normally it's about 2.5 generous cups of sugar. We'll go ahead and add this now because I like to go ahead and warm everything up so that the sugar granules will kind of melt in. I hate that when you're eating ice cream and it's gritty, so this could help with that. You just want to warm your milk till it almost boils. No need to let it boil, and be careful because milk will scorch. I can see the milk is starting to steam. We're getting very close. Grandma always taught me that you can tell when the milk is kind of ready because around the edges, it will kind of look different and start to pull, and sometimes you'll get tiny bubbles. That is a good indicator if you don't want to use a thermometer. You can see that it's gotten just a little bit foamy on the edge, and if you're like me and you're sensitive to smells, I can actually smell when this process happens. We're there now. I'm going to shut this off before it starts to really foam and make a mess. And then with the sugar, I should easily be able to get 3 cups of this sweetened milk, not to be confused with sweetened condensed milk. I do want to leave this on the warm burner. It's shut off, but it will stay warm for just a bit. And I'll move this aside so that it can kind of stay warm for our next process. And I'm so excited to show you what we're going to do. Grab your blender, and absolutely, you can use a regular blender pitcher. But because I have the AER one, we're going to use that one today. And if you look, you can see there is a different kind of blade in there. And what it does is it just doesn't quite chop it up so much. We're going to take our warm milk, almost hot. And at this point, I'm going to show you another trick, xanthan gum. So I did a little bit of research, and to combat sometimes homemade ice cream, if it's in the freezer for a little bit, it will get ice crystals in it. You can add, I usually do homemade vanilla with vodka, so vodka will kind of help with that. But I also have heard that xanthan gum can help with that and creaminess. Another option would be guar gum. I've heard it works really well. Xanthan gum is more of a stabilizer. The guar gum is more of something to get you creaminess, but I've got something else we're going to add to do that. So to this batch, I just want to add a half a teaspoon of this. And while this is on, I'm just going to have it on low. I'm going to just ever so slightly add in small amounts. Oh, we need to stop. I totally forgot a step before I go any further. Oops, I forgot. This was supposed to already be in the blender. I thought I had that planned out in my head. It just didn't happen on camera. So you get to come along with me through all the mistakes and the successes. So you need to have your cold cream in with your hot milk, and that will give you, try that again, the perfect temperature for your xanthan gum. So it will, you can use this stuff in hot or cold, but it tends to do better in a more moderate temperature, and it seems like you can kind of get that when you mix the two together, or at least that's the trick that I have heard about. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set a timer, and we're going to let this blend. I'll probably turn it up to a 3 for about 2 minutes. During our 2 minutes, once I feel like it's not too hot, I'm going to grab egg. Okay, so this is the deal. Normally I would use just egg yolk, like maybe even 3 of them. You could use up to 6. If you use vanilla flavoring, that will help mellow that out and it'll be less eggy. We like a custardy ice cream, and so if I had them, then that's what I would do. But I am down to 2 eggs. My girls are molting and we're only getting 1 or 2 eggs a day. So because I'm making 2 batches, we're going to divide this up. And what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the whole egg, because having the egg whites in there doesn't really benefit you in any way, but it's not going to hurt the ice cream either. So I'm going to slowly drizzle this in there too, because if you know, with eggs and heat, you want to make sure that you add things slowly so you don't cook your egg. And that's what's going to really help with having the movement going. And while this is doing its thing, we're going to put together an ice bath. Okay, our 2 minutes are up and we have our ice bath. What's an ice bath anyway, right? It's basically what it sounds like. You get yourself a bowl, you put in ice water, you get yourself a smaller bowl, you put it in there, and this is just going to help bring the temperature down a little quicker. But before I do that, let's add some flavorings. This is when you'd want to add your vanilla, and we're going to want a very cheesecakey flavor. So I'm going to add in a couple drops worth, probably about maybe 1.5 milliliters. Oh, that smells so good. That smells so good. So we're going to go ahead and whir this up for about, 30 seconds. This time I'm going to turn it up a little bit higher to make sure it all blends in really, really well. Okay. And this is why I couldn't do a double batch, because with the air that I just blended in there, which is going to make it a little fluffier, it needed that room. So if you were wondering if I could have just doubled this part, this is why I didn't. So now while this sits in our lovely ice bath, that can sit aside and cool. Chocolate going. So yes, I told you we were going to make 2 batches, but I didn't tell you that one was going to be vanilla and one was going to be regular and one was going to have chocolate. My son-in-law, like myself, and my mom, adore chocolate. So I thought, if you're going to make 2 batches, make 1 chocolate. We're going to do the same thing, except I'm going to add in some chocolate. Maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons to taste. Now that this has had, maybe 5 minutes to cool, I am going to transfer it back to our half-gallon jar, which some of this air will kind of come down as we let it set, because we're going to actually let this set in the fridge. You can do it overnight, up to 3 days. I'm just going to, it's morning now, and my plan is to just let it sit all day and then finish it tonight. So I'll set that aside. Make sure you put a label on your jar. Otherwise, you will forget what it is, and you'll accidentally think you're serving yourself a glass of chocolate milk when it's actually chocolate cheesecake ice cream, which might taste good too. Back later when we go to put it all together, because I've got a few more surprises up my sleeve. Okay, yeah, I did it. It's the next morning. Well, we're going to just plug in. I have my Whitner tabletop ice cream maker. I absolutely love it. I have a link somewhere down below in the description box if you want to check it out and see if it is a product that you want. I am not sponsored by them in any way. I just share with you what I have. So what I'm going to do is turn it on, and I want it to chill really good first. So I'm going to do a 30-minute cool down. It won't take that long, but I'm going to go ahead and chill it. And then I will get my ice cream base out and we will start making the ice cream. Okay, that was like maybe 20 minutes. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'll show you what it looks like. Still has a little of the foam. You can kind of see where the cream separated. And I'm just going to pour it right on in here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Doesn't get any easier than this. And this is going to kind of mix and churn. And I'm going to let it do its thing for a bit. But before it's finished, I do have a little trick up my sleeve. A little something special I want to do. Pop on our lid. And we're going to make ice cream. It says an hour. Again, I don't think it'll take an hour, but we'll be back when I'm ready for the next step. Don't go far. This has been going maybe 40 minutes. It is time to do the next step. I'm so excited. I did a thing. So I was at Walmart, and in the clearance area, I happened to find a 2-piece cheesecake. Yep, 1 chocolate, 1 vanilla. You guessed it. We're going to put little pieces of cheesecake in our cheesecake ice cream. So I'm just going to cut up small pieces because it won't take much. You know, as I'm cutting this, I'm thinking a smart thing to have done would cut it up and then freeze it and then put it in there, because I'm afraid it's going to fall apart. So that's what I'll do with the chocolate. I'll put it in the freezer because we're going to give this a minute to rest before we start the next batch. Pieces about like that. And because I did not pre-freeze these, and the thought came later, I'm going to wait, let this finish, and then I'm going to gently blend it in rather than stick it in the machine, because I just think it'll smear around and just kind of make a mess. We've got about 30 seconds left. I did put these in the freezer for just a little bit. So I'm going to let them blend in for just a little bit while we finish up the cycle. There it is. Ice cream's done. It will need to firm up. So I'll pull it on out of the ice cream maker. Oh, looky there. Wow. I will tell you that flavoring really brought out the cheesecake flavor. If I were to be honest about it, I probably could have gotten away with using less of the flavoring. It is very, very pungent, and it really does not take much at all. But I know my family is going to enjoy this because, I had to have a taste test. I'm just going to pour it into another container to freeze and harden up, because at this phase, we have a soft serve. So glad you could be here with me today, friends. Always love having you in the kitchen. Until next time, bye for now.